name is Frank Partnoy. I'm a professor at Berkeley, and I'm thrilled to be able to start us off this morning for our 5th annual conference on financial fraud, Fraud Fest. So welcome to all of you. We have people all over the globe. We have a group at Oxford, we have a group in person here, and we have a couple hundred people online watching right now. So hi to all of you. Thanks for being here. It's early in California. What I'd like to do is just kind of give you a roadmap for the day. I have the agenda here. Unfortunately, Adam Sterling, who runs this and would be your MC, is ill and couldn't make it, so you're stuck with me as your MC as well as moderating panel. But let me just talk you through what's going to happen today and who's here. It's very exciting. We have 37 speakers, and we're going to go bang, bang, bang throughout the day. There are many people who are in the room right now who would normally be keynote speakers at a conference who aren't even speaking. And there are many people who are on panels who are only going to get a few minutes who would normally get an hour. But that's just the nature of the conference when you have 37 people. So what is this thing? Okay, what do we do? We're going to hear a video from Herb Greenberg on video in just a moment to give you a little bit of the background. But this is a group of people who are interested in understanding and preventing financial fraud. And we find fraud fascinating, and we try to mix it up from multiple perspectives to try to understand fraud. Many of us come at fraud from very different angles. We think about it from a philosophical perspective, about how to define it. We think about fraud from a financial or economic perspective, about what the optimal amount of fraud in society might be. We think about fraud from a legal perspective, about trying to draw lines and prosecute individuals. We have people in the room right now who adjudicate cases, who actually do prosecute people, and who litigate financial fraud from a legal perspective. And so one of the things that we try to do is just be as capacious as we can and cover fraud from multiple perspectives. So I have an agenda here, which I'll just walk through with you. So those of you who are online right now, you can page through this. If you are here in person and you're on your computer or on your phone, you can page through it. This was changing up to the last minute, so this is the latest. And I'm just gonna talk through what we're gonna do, and then I'll turn it over to Herb. We'll hear from him. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here in person either. Okay, so the theme for today is detecting fraud, and so that runs through many of the panels. We'll start off. Jim Chanos has been part of this idea from the beginning. And has given keynote addresses every year, and we're thrilled that Soren Andal can join him to talk about his course on teaching financial fraud. Soren teaches a financial fraud course at the University of Texas, and Jim teaches a course at Yale that I've been a part of for the last several years. So we'll do a half hour with them. Then we'll switch over to Oxford. So this is, we have 25 people, I think, 20 people. Sitting in a room. I'll kick it over to Rupert Younger, who runs Oxford Center for Corporate Reputation, in just a couple of minutes to have him say hello. But we'll have 2 panels from them. The first one will be on the emerging German dividend tax scandal. And we'll hear from Richard Collier, Christoph Spengel, Philip Stafford, and Rupert will moderate that conversation for a half hour. Then we'll have, we've been very fortunate to have a number of high-profile journalists who have been part of this conference over the years, and so we'll have 30 minutes on journalists as fraud detectors. Journalists increasingly are being relied on to introduce us to frauds, but that business is tough. And so Bethany McLean has been part of this conference from the beginning. David Barstow from Berkeley will be in conversation with her, and Emily Flitter from the Times, who I'm sure you've been reading many stories from. Then we'll take a break. Then we'll go back to Oxford for the 30 minutes on the former King of Spain investigation, which is fascinating. One of the things I hope people take away from today is that there's a lot of this that you might not know anything about, that you'll learn about 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. That's one that, speaking to people this morning, I think many of the people in the room here and I think online might not know the details of that, but we'll have Doreen Carvajal, Anna Romero Galan, and Liz Young, who's been helping us organize from Oxford, to talk about that. Then we have what I've labeled an off-the-rails conversation, which I don't know about at all. I just spoke to John Gapper, hi John, on the phone, and told him I really don't know what's going to happen, but Andrew left. I think we'll be here Is Andrew here now? He's here. Okay, so we're going to go off the rails with Andrew and John, and Omid Malik is going to try to moderate that, and we'll see what happens. Then we're very fortunate that my colleague Adam Badawi, a professor at Berkeley, will be in conversation with Mary Childs, who's written a fascinating new book about Bill Gross called The Bond King. We have copies here for people, and hopefully she'll be able to sign copies, but that'll be fascinating as well. Then we'll have lunch. And then I think the Oxford people may disappear, so we'll say goodbye to you. After lunch, we'll come back and we'll have a fascinating panel on tax fraud. So we have Jesse Eisinger, who's been leading much of the reporting on tax fraud, and Carrie Larson, who's right here, who is from the Department of Justice, and Vic Fleischer, a law professor from UC Irvine, will moderate that conversation. Then we'll have 30 minutes on using forensic analysis to detect fraud, so big data using technology. And Dan Taylor has been one of the top people in the academic world investigating fraud using very sophisticated computational techniques. And so he'll be talking with Chris Bonatti, CEO of Bedrock AI, and Hane Kim from the Securities and Exchange Commission Enforcement. So we've had people from the SEC involved in this conference over the years, and we're very pleased that we were able to include the SEC. Then we'll talk art. So we've got Ann Friedman sitting right here. Ann and I have had many conversations, including one on the record at a Berkeley art conference. And Diana Enriquez, who chairs our conference and will give her eloquent summary of everything that we've learned at the end of this, will be in conversation with me and Ann about art fraud and the parallels between fraud in the art world and fraud in the business and finance world. Then we'll take another break. And then we're very fortunate to have Vice Chancellor Travis Laster right here, who will be in conversation with Judge Jed Rakoff about the parallels between fraud in state law and federal law. And Usha Rodriguez, is Usha here? Hopefully, will moderate that conversation. And I actually don't know what you're going to talk about either. So I'm thrilled to, some of this Fraud Fest really is a fest. We're celebrating, but we're also giving people a lot of entrepreneurial license to do what they'd like. Then my co-author, Liz Pullman, who's right here, a brilliant scholar from Penn, we're now revising our business law book, so if there are any students or professors there, you should adopt our book. I do shameless self-promotion, as many of you know, so I'll do that periodically throughout the day. But she'll be in conversation with David Zering and Enrique Abeda about fraud in the private markets, which is an area of her scholarship. Then last but not least, we 3 years ago had a great debate between Josh Mitz and Karsten Block. I'm sure all of you have followed what's happened since then with the interactions between the two of them. It's a little bit odd how this debate is going to happen. There are 3 different ways in which the people will be participating. So Josh has done a pre-recorded with me asking him questions, some tough questions, I think. And we'll watch that video, never before seen, 33 minutes. Then we'll have a great debate with Rob Jackson, former SEC commissioner and professor at NYU, standing in for Josh, debating Karsten. And Karsten, unfortunately, couldn't make it, but he'll be on video. And so no one will actually physically land a blow during the great debate, but they will go at it for 30 minutes, and then Diana will sum up the day and tell us what we learned. Everybody ready? Sound good? It's a fun conference. This is a great group. Before I turn it over to Oxford, a couple of just housekeeping details, and I want to thank our sponsors. First, if you're here for MCLE credit, there's a form out there that you need to sign, so be sure that you fill out that form and give us your details so that you can get credit. Our sponsors are so important to us. We couldn't do this. We couldn't pay for this venue and the expenses associated with this conference without our sponsors, so thank you. Clear Street is here. Is Ralph here? So please, we have some swag, I think, and please spend time. Great, and please spend time talking to Ralph. They're a very interesting financial shop, and I'd like to the extent you can, please spend some time with Ralph. Thank you so much for being involved. Empire Financial Research, which is Herb's shop, is a sponsor. We're grateful to them, and Enrique is from Empire. Farvahar Partners and Omid. Is Omid here? Omid's not here yet, but Omid, thank you for the record. Omid has been supportive of FraudFest for the last 4 years, and we very much appreciate it. I'm thrilled to have two people from Integra FEC. So Integra Financial Consulting is an economic consulting firm that is focused on economic justice. And they are like the Navy SEALs of the economic consulting world. They are truly gifted, teched up, computer science, geeky people who want to do right in the world. And so we have two. John Griffin is the head of them. For the academics here, he's a professor at UT Business School and has written many of the top papers on financial fraud, including recent crypto research. And he and I have been working on a number of financial fraud issues for the last decade. And he set up this shop, and I'm thrilled that Damon Krim and Matt Barnes, who are right here, are here for that. I've formally affiliated with them, so I will do shameless self-promotion on Integra all day long. But I hope if you have anything that involves difficult, computationally complex economic challenges, that you'll talk to the two of them. And please just get in touch with me if you have those issues. The lawyers who are here, the law firms who are, they might not take your case because you have to be right, and it has to involve justice, but if they take your case, you've got the best possible people. Another sponsor is the International Institute of Law and Finance, which is a group I set up just this year, which I run with Bobby Bishop, and we try to bring academic research to regulators. And we have put in front of the SEC a number of comment letters, including 2 comment letters signed by more law and finance professors than any comment letters in the history of the Securities and Exchange Commission. So that group is also a sponsor. Kingsford Capital Management and Mike Wilkins. Mike can't be here, but they're a very interesting group, and we appreciate. Mike, thank you very much to you and your group for support. I guess for the people who are there, I have to turn to you and say hi directly occasionally. Robbins Geller, the law firm, and Darren Robbins has been supportive over the years, and we thank you. Sophos Capital Management, Jim Carruthers, who is here. Thank you very much, Jim, for your support over the years. Trace International, which does anti-bribery. Alexandra Raghi has been part of the conference. She couldn't be here in person, but thank you to Trace. And then Andrew Lowenthal. Thank you very much, Andrew, for your support as well. Okay, have I been talking enough? You're tired of me. I get 15 minutes, okay? Let me just briefly kick it over to Rupert Younger at Oxford so that Oxford's able to say hi, and then we'll get started with our professors who teach financial fraud.
Well, good morning over there and good afternoon from here in Oxford. Just ready to add my welcome to that of Frank. So we are here at the University of Oxford, very specifically in the Said Business School. My name is Rupert Younger. I am director of Oxford University's Centre for Corporate Reputation. And we study all the different social approval assets, status, legitimacy, reputation, and trust. And that leads us, of course, smack into the areas that we're talking about today. It's been a great pleasure to be involved in FraudFest for a number of years, but it was a startling observation of Frank's just a few months ago, where he suddenly discovered that fraud was not just an American preserve. And that he wanted for the first time perhaps to bring an international dimension to this. So we're the international dimension. We're very proud of some of the great scandals that we can bring here to you and your discussions today. We have the very current and growing CumEx scandal, the dividend tax scandal. In the last months, you've seen a number of the world's largest financial institutions raided. So we're very, very contemporary. And then secondly, the King of Spain. Fraud, and everyone is fearful of somehow being fingered by the King of Spain, or indeed various of his people. So we're going to have to be very careful about what we say. And then finally, we've got John Gapper from the Financial Times, who's going to join with you in New York to have an off-the-rails discussion. Like Frank, I have absolutely no idea quite where that's going to go. And with that, over to you, Frank.
All right, great. Thank you, Rupert. One final word before we dive into teaching financial fraud. Delia Violante from Berkeley runs this show. Thank you, Delia. None of this could happen. None of this would be possible without you, and thank you so much. So sorry to be so stumbling in the intro. Normally Adam Sterling would do this in a very smooth way, but you got stuck with me. But now let me turn it over to Jim and Soren to talk about teaching financial fraud.